just the same. Zero res. With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 50, then tonight, cloudy with a low of 35. There's something for everybody at Cafe Latte in St. Paul, from award-winning soup, salad, sandwiches, and desserts to treats from the bakery made fresh daily and a pizza and wine bar. Cafe Latte is located on the corner of Grand Avenue and Victoria Street. Check them out at cafelatte.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, in the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW, and of course on BAM, the Blue Amp Media Network, at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Monday, President's Day. How are you doing? Matt here. Patrick is with us as well. Hello, Patrick.
How was your weekend?
I'm doing I had a nice one. It was low-key because it was so warm in the Twin Cities after all the cold weather we had. We got up to the 50s, so I got out and did some hikes. The paths and the roadways all melted. That was really nice. Did you get outside at all this weekend?
Yeah, I had a nice meal on Eat Street, which is in South Minneapolis, last night. So it was a good weekend out.
Solid on you. And once again, we should remind everybody the reason why that's really cool is because Eat Street is where the ICE agents went and attacked, and they shot Alex Preddy down there. And it kind of was decimated a good chunk of that area because of their gas bombs and their, beating of people in the streets and the murder of Alex Preddy. And so a lot of people have been going down there. So was it a good meal?
I loved it. I'd never been to this particular place before. It was great.
What was the place?
Rainbow.
Nice. The Rainbow is nice over there. So I'm glad you had that good time. Hope you had a good weekend here with the Valentine's Day. And it is President's Day. That's right. Pick your favorite Roosevelt. I want to take a quick moment, if I can, to remind people of why Donald Trump is so bad. Seriously, so bad. And that is because when you compare him to kind of the presidents that had the worst kind of behavior, per se, it becomes clear that he wasn't really good. I'll start with Adams. If you don't know much about Adams, the second president, he was a guy that he reimagined the presidency to try to be something like a monarchy. He wanted to have an American monarch sort of situation. And I will admit, I haven't read as much on Adams as I probably should, but from what I have read about him, I think Trump is far more down the monarchy line than Adams is. Jefferson had a tremendous amount of personal flaws. He did. And his sexual deviations as well were fairly inexcusable. But considering Epstein's Island and Trump as, the pedophile and child sex trafficker in chief, I think Jackson was atrocious. Jackson and Trump they both are these kind of belligerent idiots that came from Jackson was, came from Tennessee, and he was at that point was kind of the frontier land. And, he was fighting the idea of presidents could only be, founding fathers and East Coast people. And he came on in and he didn't know what the hell he was doing half the stuff. And he just did it to do it because we're going to get those people. It was kind of like that. He was a horrible racist too. A horrible racist. And I think, when you compare him to Trump is worse at, he doesn't understand how any damn thing works. He doesn't. If he says, I am the greatest comptroller that ever lived, he doesn't know what a comptroller is. He doesn't. And also he's really racist. Trump is a really racist piece of crap. Buchanan was just indifferent. And I'll just go to that meeting they had. Was it with the oil executives in the room when he just all of a sudden stood up and just started staring out at the empty space that used to be the East Wing and stared at he stared at it for like a minute. That's Buchanan. At times though, I think Trump is far more aloof than Buchanan. Then there was a string of presidents between Garfield and McKinley, all of whom were just, there for corporate bidders and stuff like that. He is far worse than that, about that. I mean, he's basically got a sign on him saying, "Pay me, I'll do whatever you want." Harding was, up until Trump, I think, the most corrupt president. And it's still, he died, but he actually had a cabinet member get convicted of their crimes. Many of which, the Teapot Dome scandal is one that gets a lot mentioned, but he also had, they were stealing, World War I surplus gear and reselling it. They were doing land speculations across the country and then selling it back to the government for massive profits. It was really horrible. But Trump is far worse. Hoover was just incompetent. He just didn't know what he was doing. And he was surrounded by a bunch of people who didn't know who he was doing. Sound familiar? Yes, exactly. And then there was Nixon. The paranoid freak. What is crazy is that he pretty much had no reason to spy on the Democrats since 1972 because he was likely going to win re-election. But his paranoia got the best of him. And when you look at Nixon, imagine what Nixon would have been like with social media pages. He would have been Trump, only Trump's worse. He got his own social media page. Nah, it's, the reason why all of us on, in the middle to the left, any sane person was like, "Oh my God, no," is that if you look at the worst of the American presidents, pound for pound, there's nothing that compares to Trump. Trump is by far the worst human being you could put in the place. I'll go back to, and I mentioned this guy kind of in passing, one of the guys that was between Garfield and McKinley was Grover Cleveland. He was the last guy that was elected, lost a re-election, then was elected the next term afterwards. And there are a lot of similarities. The reason you voted for Trump was to stick it to the Dems. You didn't really listen to what he was saying as far as all of his policies and stuff. You just didn't care. What you did is you went out there and you voted for it because you're like, "Hey, I look at how mad the libs are getting." And you didn't realize we were frantically trying to save you from crashing the plane. Well, I should say this. There's a lot of Republicans that heard everything he's saying, but they're racist as heck. So, that's why they voted for him. Come on. That's why they voted for him. So, and similarly, Grover Cleveland got into office and kind of public opinion turned against him fairly quickly. The same thing's happening to Trump. Although Grover Cleveland never thought about, let's throw out the election process system and just we'll install me and my buddies as the leaders of the country. That's where Trump is at right now. Nope, hands down, Trump will historically go down as the worst president in the history of this country. And the fact that this country elected him twice, and once again, I'm not mad at the Democrats who voted in 2024. I'm not mad at you guys. I'm furious at the amount of people that did not vote, saying, "What's the big difference?" Like you already didn't know. There's a lot of things that are tied together on this. I'll get to that here in a little bit, but I do actually have to start off with sad news because Robert Duvall is one of my favorites of all time. He won an Oscar for Tender Mercies, a great film. He was nominated for his roles in The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, The Great Santini. He has passed away. He was 95 years old. Duvall's death was announced on Facebook via a statement from his wife, Luciana Duvall. Yesterday, we said goodbye to my beloved husband, cherished friend, and one of the greatest actors of our time, she wrote. Bob passed away peacefully at home, surrounded by love and comfort. To the world, he was an Academy Award-winning actor, director, and storyteller. To me, he was simply everything. I forget about this. His first big screen role was one of his most memorable one. He played Boo Radley in 1962's To Kill a Mockingbird. I forget about that. Fantastic, a fantastic film. And yeah, I forget he played Boo Radley in that. It didn't take some time for his career to get off the ground. In 1969, he paired with the young director Francis Ford Coppola on the intimate drama The Rain People. And the next year, he got a juicy role as Frank Burns on Robert Altman's MASH. That's right. You remember he was the original Frank Burns. He also starred in George Lucas's experimental THX 1138, which I honestly think it's one of the better science fiction films you will ever see. That is, if you've not seen that, that is a really good film. And Lucas showed kind of his expertise towards science fiction. And I think one of the great things about science fiction is when you have somebody that can kind of foresee how the future might actually look, way down the line. I think that, George Lucas did it in that. And of course, Duvall was fantastic in that. He was also on stage at that point. The movie that turned it all around was 1972's The Godfather, in which he played the patient in Sly Consigliere. Tom Hagen, the role that brought him his first Oscar nomination. He reprised the role again as Hagen in Godfather Part 2 in 1974. He also appeared in Coppola's The Conversation, Dr. Watson and Herbert Ross's The 7% Solution. Then in 1984, his quiet and detailed performance in Tender Mercies, written by Horton Foote and directed by Bruce Beresford, brought him the Oscar as Best Actor. I will also say this one, and I'm glad they mentioned this. I'm reading out of Variety right now. I am so glad they mentioned this one because I was stunned at how good and how much I enjoyed Assassination Tango, which was 2003. He plays a hitman with obsessive tendencies. He goes to Argentina and he falls in love with the tango and with a dancer. And it's actually a really good film. Assassination Tango is really good. And, he died at 95. He did that. I was just doing the math on this. He did that, what, it was 67? Yeah, 67, 68 years old. He did that movie. It was fantastic. I want to go back to The Godfather because obviously that's the one that most people remember from is Tom Hagen and The Godfather. I will make an argument, and I might fight you on this one. I'll make an argument that much as Sam is the unifying character in Lord of the Rings trilogy, Tom is much the same thing in The Godfather. And this is nothing against Pacino, who's fantastic in that. Brando's fantastic. The entire cast, Fredo, the entire cast, Sonny. I mean, everyone in that is great, but it's Tom's seriousness and his presence in all of those scenes, which really bring the film together. And if not for Duvall, there's a chance that movie just doesn't click. And, I just remember the final scene with him and Pacino at the end of Godfather Part 2. And, how well he portrayed his stunned kind of reaction to what was going on at that point. Just fantastic. I also should mention Apocalypse Now. I mean, come on. I love the smell. It smells like victory. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. My goodness. Yeah. Oh, that one hurts. He's great. Duvall is great. Go see one of his movies. Like when Gene Hackman passed away, go find him one of his movies and go watch it. You'll have a good time with that one. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Mavericks Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
Are you tired of hearing how white European men discovered everything? Then 10,000 Things Theater's production of Men on Boats by Jacqueline Backhouse is for you. It features a cast of the people the first expedition to the Grand Canyon in 1869 left out, running February 19th through March 15th at 4 different locations, starting with Open Book in Minneapolis. Contact 10,000things.org. That's 10,000things.org.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. We've known the tariffs have not gone well. We have known that they have not gone well. A story released today, and by the way, it does not surprise me. This story was released on President's Day on what is a lighter news cycle. I mean, it's a lot of people still do work. I mean, I'm here. But a lot of people do not work today. I've got a lot of friends who are off today, bank holiday sort of thing. And I was kind of surprised that this story kind of fell because it's a pretty big story. American businesses and consumers, rather than foreign exporters, shouldered nearly the entire financial weight of the 2025 tariffs, according to a report released Thursday by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So once again, this is not liberal, folks. It's the Federal Reserve Bank. Over the course of 2025, the average U.S. tariff rate surged from 2.6% to 13%. Yet foreign prices failed to drop significantly to compensate for the hike. The study highlights a stark reality for domestic firms. 94% of the tariff incidences was paid for by the U.S. in the first 8 months of 2025. And when I'm saying paid for by the U.S., I'm saying paid for by you and me. That's right. Corporations aren't, out of benevolence, aren't going to cover that cost. This is why when they release their economic numbers, their inflation numbers, that's just garbage. Your tariff rate went to 13%, from 2.6 to 13%. And 94% of the tariffs were paid for by the American people. 94% of them, not foreign countries. This was a tax on American people. That's why your prices are gone up. Economists Mary Amity, Chris Flanagan, Sebastian Hasse, and David Weinstein found that for the majority of the year, the economic burden of the tariffs did not shift abroad. That implies that foreign exporters largely maintain their prices, forcing American importers to pay the tax on top of the original cost of goods. Swing and a miss, Donnie. Swing and a miss. And it should be mentioned that one of the main arguments, he says, well, what it's going to do is it's going to spur American business to bring their plants and build it right here in America. That's what's going to happen. And I said, that's not going to happen. And I said, that's not going to happen because even if, say you were one of the largest manufacturers on the planet, and over the last 30 years, because of Republican policies that have allowed you to do this, you have shifted all your jobs over to China, okay? even if you wanted to switch back, which none of them do because they're making tons of money and putting it in their pockets. You know why they get that gold-plated jet ski? It's because of conservative economic policies that have allowed American businesses and manufacturing to not suffer punishment for shipping their manufacturing base over to foreign countries. That's why. So you basically, if you had American businesses that were going to do this, we're going to call their bluff. We're going to say, okay, well, fine, we're going to punish you. We'll put tariffs in place. Well, no, they're not going to pay them. That comes back to the American consumer. So if you had a business owner who had actually moved their manufacturing base overseas and wants to bring it back, what are you looking at as far as cost? I mean, if it's a large manufacturer, you're looking at billions of dollars worth of cost. And if you find the land and then you build to specifications and you get all the machinery and the equipment over here, and then you train all the American workers that need to work there, you're looking at 5-6 years down the line at best. No, they're looking at the numbers here. I'm not going to commit to that. Trump's not going to even be in office 5 to 6 years. I'll just weather through. We'll just hope the American consumer will still buy our product. And then, the second we can, we'll get rid of the tariffs and say, hey, thank God those are gone. So, yeah, that's what's going on. Actually, I should say this. We should note this about corporate America, because corporate America, and I say this as a business major from William Penn. I know. I say this as a business major. If they can see that American consumers are willing to pay the extra 13% for their product's going to increase 13% in cost, even when the tariffs go away, because greedy jackasses. All right. Workers are furious at hedge fund billionaire John Paulson, who's publicly praised Trump's tariffs as necessary to protect domestic manufacturing jobs after he told union officials he intended to offshore most of his work at Conselmer in June. This is in Ohio. This is coming from The Guardian. To go publicly on CNBC to support the Trump administration's positive views on tariffs and all that stuff, and then you turn around and you say, we want to send all the work right over to China, said Robert Hines, president of the UAW Local 2359, and a worker at the plant. That's a slap in our face. It is, isn't it? It's almost like all you idiots in Ohio should have realized you shouldn't trust that guy. But I made this point earlier. Ohio of 1990 would have never fallen for Trump. I don't know what's happened to you guys. Workers were informed at the East Lake plant, which is the largest U.S. manufacturer of brass and orchestra instruments, last month at the start of negotiations on the new union contract. We came in with a full proposal, fully prepared to bargain, and they started off with a presentation telling us how bad we were doing. Conselmer opened the facility last year in China and gradually shifted its workload there, although workers say they've been told that it would not affect their jobs in Ohio. Idiots. I feel sorry for you. No, I do feel sorry for you because but did you really? Okay. Did Eddie, are you really saying that you didn't think that this was going to happen? Of course it was going to happen. And a spokesperson for the company confirmed that some instrumental production will be transferred overseas if the tentative decision is finalized. Meanwhile, the rest of the world has basically said, we've had enough with you. And this is actually a pretty big threat to us, because the rest of the world realize that the United States is nice, but the United States is not the where-all, end-all of economy, that they can basically ship around us, and they're going to be fine. An economic plan from world leaders could reduce the impact of Donald Trump's tariff policies worldwide. The president's economic plan, which he implemented during his second term, has caused disruption domestically and internationally. World leaders are now seeking a way through the economic spiral. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is believed to be at the helm of this plan. Insiders speaking with Politico confirm there are nearly 40 countries interested in the talks of a new trade agreement, with the U.S. specifically left out of it. The Canadian government officials said the work is definitely coming along. We had very fruitful discussions on it with other partners from around the world. Both the European Union and members of the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, including Canada, Mexico, and Australia, are keen to stand against Trump economic policies and their effects on the wider world. A Japanese trade official said, we see a lot of value in increasing trade among the EU and CPTPP parties, which could also contribute to enhancing supply chain resilience. Another diplomat from an unnamed nation spoke positively about the positive alliance between the EU and the CPTPP. They said if the EU is up for conversation, then of course it would make things very interesting. So let me make sure we just look at the scoreboard here. The EU, Canada, Mexico, Australia, Japan. I'm going to guess New Zealand's going to go in there too. They're all looking to start doing trade without us. And I imagine a lot of other countries are there too. Meanwhile, all the developing countries where we should be investing our time in American products, like in Africa, the United States doesn't want to go there. And you know why? Because Trump's a racist jackass and there are black people there. And so he doesn't want to trade with them. Meanwhile, China and India have gone in there and built up really good trade agreements already with many of those countries. And so we have no place to go. Maybe those penguins. Remember those penguins? Maybe the penguins. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Minnesota, it's your favorite sexy liberal. Join me and my fellow cohorts in liberal justice weekdays from 8 to 11 on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Hearts and beliefs collide in the poignant comedy, The Cake, playing at Theater in the Round. Della is a talented Southern baker whose life changes when she's asked to create a wedding cake for her late best friend's daughter, who's marrying a woman. The production offers a tender and funny look at the complex intersection of faith and family. The Cake runs February 20th through March 15th at Theater in the Round. Tickets and more information at theaterintheround.org.
AM 950 would like to thank everyone who joined and donated during our winter membership drive. Your support shows that Minnesotans still value an independent progressive radio station that delivers facts, not spin. AM 950 is locally owned, based right here in the Twin Cities, and dedicated to uplifting small businesses and diverse communities. At a time when some voices are being pushed aside, AM 950 refuses to be silenced. Please help keep progressive radio on the air. Visit am950radio.com and donate today.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Inver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 50, then tonight, cloudy with a low of 35. Step into Forts at Children's Theater Company. It's a fort-building wonderland where theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towering towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for shared creative play. Forts, now through April 5th at Children's Theater Company. Tickets at childrenstheater.org. This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Broadcasting in the evenings in Chicago, WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. In Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. On BAM, the Blue Amp Media Network at blueamp.co on Substack. That's blueamp.co on Substack. And on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, it is the Matt McNeil Show for your Monday. President's Day. Nice to have you here today. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. You see I'm wearing shorts today, Patrick? See those? Look at those pasty white. Should I show the camera? Maybe I should show on the camera. Hold on a second here. Yeah, here we go. Some pasty white meat sticks. There we are. Oh, there the buttes. Huh?
Oh, we needed to white balance the camera again anyway, so that's helpful.
It's a ghost. I I have my legs have not seen the sun for a while, but there you go. It's you get 50 some degrees in Minneapolis, St. Paul in February. We kind of like that a little bit. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I want to talk about a video I posted actually this morning on the social media pages. And if you haven't seen it, it is pretty spectacular. It's spectacular, but it's also kind of a little depressing. And I'll get to that here in a second. But it's spectacular at watching Barbara Walters absolutely dismantle Trump in 1990. And the video, it basically, and a quick description, you can go find it on the social media pages. Trump basically starts in with this, the media lies, and Barbara Walters takes personal offense to that and points out that how can you claim to be a successful business person when you are on the verge of bankruptcy and your bankers are having to bail you out? And he said, what banker? He said, 7 of them. I talked to 7 of your bankers. They all said you're on shaky financial, legs. And he then said, he tries to turn and says, well, this property is worth so much more. And she goes, no, it's not. And she just shuts him down. Now, Barbara Walters was the gold standard. I mean, she was a great journalist. But back then in 1990, in the days before cable news kicked in, every network, ABC, NBC, CBS, they all had PBS, the radio networks, they had at least 4 or 5 reporters who would have trounced Trump today. Just imagine what we would be like today. I mean, most of the journalists today, most of the media today, they think a tough question to ask Donald Trump is, what's your favorite color? And I'm dead serious. And it is a one-sided thing. They're just cowards when it comes to Republicans, and then they try to make up for it being doubly journalistic when it comes to Democrats. And I'll come back to that here in a little bit. But no, today's journalists, they are an eighth of an ounce compared to a ton of what journalists used to be. And it's important to understand how compromised our news media has become to pushing a Republican narrative. To watch Barbara Walters dismantle Trump so effectively. I mean, if that kind of journalism existed in 2016 or in 2024, Donald Trump wouldn't be the president of the United States. And you see, that's it right there. What I just said is it 100%. The Republican Party knew that if they had any chance at getting to where they're at today, where they're almost to the point of overthrowing the government and installing themselves as some sort of one-partied theocracy that is all obedient to Trump, that they had to get rid of the news media that could actually expose the fact that the man's an incompetent freaking idiot, which once again gives me the opportunity to talk about how we got here. Because a lot of this problem is the insane failure of the Democrats to realize what was going on as it was going on. Because I saw it myself. Now, the first thing they got rid of was the fairness doctrine. And this was back in the Reagan administration. And I remember when they got rid of it, we used to have such vibrant and deep broadcasting. We used to have such, and I say that I don't think I would be working in media today compared to the personalities that you had back then, because you had this rule that if you presented one political side of the aisle, you had to present the other side of the aisle. And so you would have the conservative gardener followed by the liberal sports talk host in the same lineup, and it created, you had quality broadcasters who happen to have opinions. It's the same thing. I mean, I'll give you a great example of it. We used to have good music reviewers and stuff like that, where you got to know the writer and then you would understand who the writer was and you'd listen to the reviews and you understood the review better. Today, it's I loved it, hated it, and it's garbage. Same exact thing. When they got rid of the fairness doctrine, no longer was quality important, it was ideology. And so, and the argument was, well, if all the Republicans in this one area want to hear this, and what they said was, and here's where the lie came in. And this is, they kind of went out there with this whole thing of, oh, well, in your democratic cities, you can have as liberal as host as you wanted. And spoiler alert, they had a plan for that. But still, even then, you didn't have a lot of those metro area media outlets immediately dumping anyone who was conservative. As a matter of fact, they were trying to, that's where the money was. The advertisers were these suburban guys that were far right. But then came the Telecommunications Act of 1996. And the Telecommunications Act of 1996 was a pretty big deal because it got rid of the ownership rules. And then that's when a handful of right-wing guys could buy up half the radio and media in a given state and then program in it from the most conservative town in the country. And that's where things really started to get bad. Because since they got rid of the ownership rules with the Telecommunications Act of 1996, they were also hitting you at the same time. And I can say this because I was working through the 90s as a morning show host, and they would send out these wacky talk points, and you'd read these things, and they were all like, Al Gore's an idiot. Al Gore's a bad guy. I wouldn't support Bill Clinton, all those sort of things. And of course, at 9:50, you would get a fax from the same people saying, by the way, all those things we printed on the previous morning's fact, we determined that they're not right. But if you said them, that's on you. That's not on us. It was crazy. I mean, there was really a misinformation campaign out there. And if you think about it, and you think about where you're at, wherever you're at in the Twin Cities or nationally, that was when we saw the rise of these morning shows that were kind of skewing towards the right. That was by design. So then it didn't matter. I mean, the whole argument of getting rid of the fairness doctrine was, then, they can merge the programming to the local community. Then they got rid of the ownership rules, which then, now that they didn't have any restrictions on what they could put on the air, they could pour right-wing talking points into the major metro areas. And it was at this point in 1996, I was like, okay, guys, you guys watching what's going on here? They're kind of changing this, and it's all becoming right-wing talking points. And of course, idiot Democrats going, gee, willikers, really? Yeah, really? No, guys, really? And at this point as well, you had the rise of the cable news networks and Fox News. And Fox News understood one thing better than a lot of other places did, which is that you didn't need to have 25 million people watching you. You just need about 3 million. In a country of 330 million, they just needed 1% of the population watching them, and they would be one of the most popular networks in the country. Same thing with Rush Limbaugh and all the rest of those guys. They understood you didn't need the masses. You just needed a relatively small amount to make it seem as if you were this, insurmountable force. And yeah, that's what happened. And slowly but surely, you started seeing the buying up of the small town radio station, the small town television station, and all of them getting flipped over to right-wing Sinclair and stuff like that after over and over again. And then the last step when they finally accomplished this was to go after public radio and public television, because for them, those were the only two remaining news outlets within any given town, especially in these right-wing towns, which they didn't control. And now they basically have cut them free, and I guarantee you they're working as hard as they can against them. Try to shut down all the stations or get them to carry right-wing public radio content. This is how we got here. And I understand now there's a lot of Democrats going, wow, there's not a lot of media outlets for us. But I'll just say this myself. You think the Democratic Party supports this radio station that much? The Blue Amp Network? Come on, man. They think we're a charity. They do. They think we're a charity that exists just to appease them. I can't tell you, if I was a conservative radio host, I would have a 6-figure salary. I would have a book tour. I would have at least a 3-book deal. I'd have a national appearances on networks. I'd have a nationwide tour. And they would just give this to me, even though I'd probably have 1/10 the audience I have today. They still don't know how to get out of their own way. And now they're to the point where the far right is actually able to spank them pretty good. This is where it kind of starts getting dangerous. Warner Brothers Discovery Board is considering reopening sales talks with Paramount after recently receiving an amended offer with sweetened deal terms, said Bloomberg News on Sunday. Warner Brothers in December agreed to sell both of its film studio and HBO Max streaming service to Netflix. Paramount, which owns CBS and MTV, in December launched a hostile bid for Warner Brothers, promising its shareholders $30 per share for all cash deal. Last week, Paramount upped the ante, saying it would add a ticking fee of 25 cents per share to its offer for any delay in regulatory approval on the deal. The ticking fee would be approximately $650 million in cash value per quarter for every quarter the deal is not closed. Paramount then also said it would be willing to cover $2.8 billion termination fee paid to Netflix if the Warner Brother deal is terminated. Paramount has also said it would eliminate $1.5 billion in possible debt refinancing costs. Both Paramount and Netflix said they would be willing to raise the bids to secure the Warner Brothers deal, Bloomberg reported. I want to just step back. Did you hear how much Paramount is willing to throw at Warner Brothers to get them for one thing? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some value in the movie studio and stuff like this. They want CNN, which is part of that package. They want CNN to either kill it, just to shut it down one day, have a big ceremony where all the right wingers are, high-fiving and they pull the signal and the power goes out, or to turn it into a right-wing news outlet. And you say to yourself, it's not really. No. Do you understand how much national news today is far-right national news? CBS is gone. CBS is gone for sure. You have, what was it? I was reading the story about Nexstar, who does News Nation, which initially started to try to be a middle-of-the-road outlet, now has decided to go full right-wing because they want to merge with Tegna. So they basically, they're trying to appeal to the FCC by becoming another right-wing news outlet. So News Nation's gone. CBS is gone. Of course, you got Fox and all the far-right guys there. They've gotten public radio to get damaged. They're going after that. They've got, ABC. They're controlling ABC to a point through their far-right affiliate owners. So you really only have MS Now, NBC News, and CNN as the only options which are not through Republican talking points. And I'd make an argument that sometimes those guys even are, because, once again, they're a hollow shell of what Barbara Walters used to be. People don't realize how bad this is going to get. And you'll say to yourself, Matt, they're not really spending all this money to get them. Damn right they are. They went and got TikTok now. So Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, they're buying social media companies, not because they're great money makers, but they're controlling the message. And it's gotten to the point where they are literally on the verge of making sure that outside of one or two news outlets, which most people will not even have on their cable news lineup, or won't be really available easily on any kind of online access, are the only things contradicting right-wing talking points. This is not about making money. This is about controlling the narrative. And they are doing an amazing job at basically rounding up as many of these news outlets as they can and shutting them down to make sure that only right-wing news gets talked about. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Inver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
Hey, this is Andy Otto, Executive Director of Twin Cities Pride and your host of Twin Cities Pride Amplified. Our community needs your help. Twin Cities Pride is collecting donations to help our local community in need. We're collecting everything from shelf-stable food to household cleaning supplies, infant care items, and personal care products at our Pride Cultural Arts Center. If you're looking to help, reach out to us at info@tcpride.org or just stop by 1201 Harmon Place in Minneapolis. It's our time to take care of our community and take care of each other all year long.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. And you're just in time for Zero Res's post-Valentine's Day flash sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a 4th room free. But you have to book by February 20th. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 9520-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. No, I mean, if you look at the lineup, they want to kill CNN. That's a huge. CNN is by far the farthest reaching non-right-wing controlled news outlet right now. They can kill that off. Now you're down to NBC and MS Now, maybe the BBC and stuff like that. I mean, this is why stuff like Substack is so important. With the Blue Amp network, where I'm proud to be on Blue Amp, because Cliff Schecter has made a network, and this might be the only option we end up having here to broadcast is this Substack network. This is why I'm a big fan of Blue Sky on the social media, is because it's one of the few that's not controlled. And of course, Substack is there and Mastodon is there. But it is insane how much of messaging is controlled by a handful of people now. If I'm on Facebook and I click, I love t-shirts. There you go. I'm wearing a bear today. If I'm on Facebook and I click on a t-shirt, I'm going to see that t-shirt ad for 2 months because I clicked on it one time. One time. I will block 10 conservative Facebook pages in any given day, 10 of them, and I'll have another 10 to block the next day. Don't tell me that this is not some sort of controlled message. We've talked about how, whether it was on TikTok or on Threads, and they basically are stopping messages from getting out there. They don't want anything to be out there. And maybe they'll outlaw FS Now and they'll outlaw NBC News. And then we have nothing. And then they'll basically say, well, the BBC and the Guardian and all this, you can't look at that news. It's from out of the country. It's foreign infiltrators. They won't have it. He is willing to spend billions of dollars, not because of the value of Warner Brothers. He'll take a bath on that. But because he has got something more valuable, he literally will stop the ability for people to find out what the hell is going on in this country. This is some scary. I mean, like I said, and the Democrats are sitting there going, gee willikers, why doesn't somebody want to help us? I mean, you had the Current on television channel that you guys ignored and got bought out and basically shut down. Wasn't that bought out by some Saudis? Just shut down one day. Air America, you had Air America And the wealthy people just walked around to the radio stations that were carrying it and offered 3 times the value for those stations and shut the damn things down. Because you guys as sure as weren't keeping them afloat. You guys are sitting there, Democrats, too many Democrats are sitting there thinking about their, 400-page strongly worded memo, and no one cares. Because you don't know how badly you're getting trounced on the messaging issue. That's why support Blue Amp Network, support WCPT, support KKNW in Seattle, support AM 950, support them for God's sakes. They are basically, they're becoming the only options you have left. And I want to get back to one thing I had mentioned a little earlier in regards to the advice I want to give when it comes to Democrats, because what I said earlier about Barbara Walters and interviewing Trump and how she absolutely spanked the guy. And you look at the modern media today and then looking at the Republicans in power, and they're like, tell me what your favorite dream is. And that's what they think is a hard biting question. It's not that these guys don't know how to be journalists. It's just they can't be journalists with the Republicans. Their ownership groups, the people that are in charge of them, they don't want them to, rock the boat per se. So they are not supposed to do investigative journalism. They're not supposed to ask tough questions, and they don't. But when Democrats are in office, they're saying you can go after them all day long. And so once again, here, I want to give you Democrats some advice. When the Democrats get back in charge and a Republican comes to your door or tracks you down and starts screaming about, what did you know and how long did you know it? And do you still support this person and all these things? I want you to just calmly and briefly look them in and say, here's the deal. I want you to go find me the video of you questioning any Republican with the same intensity as you're questioning me right now. Bring it to my office. If I see that it's equal, then I'll give you 30 minutes of my time. But if you can't produce that, any video where you go after a Republican with 1/10 of the intensity that you come after a Democrat, well, then you're just basically there for political reasons, and I'm not going to talk to you. And I'm going to make sure you understand, most of the news media does not have a video of them, getting tough with a Republican. They don't. They haven't had that in 15, 20 years. Tell me how you make such delicious pies. I mean, that's the kind of thing that they get. When the news media comes back to the Democrats and say, well, I would go after them, but they never give me an interview. Just look at them and say, you tracked me down fairly easily, didn't you? You can use those little meat sticks of yours to run on over there and track down a Republican and ask them the tough questions. And until you guys do that, don't bother me. I want you to think back to 2024 and think back to the news media and the feeding frenzy they had at Joe Biden about how he can't be running for office. He's a horrible person. He's bad. We can't have him in there. And the intensity, it wasn't Barbara Walters because there was no point to it outside of, get him. And that's what it was. But you see, that's when they're unleashed, is when they can go after a Democrat. And think about all those news media, every single one of them on every network, watching Donald Trump, a far more compromised individual, a mentally challenged human being, a person that can't make a straight statement at all, who confuses Iceland and Greenland, who roams off in the middle of sentences, who insults people constantly, who clearly has a litany of health problems. And not a single damn one of them has said, should President Trump step aside? Joe Biden had one bad debate performance, and he basically, he's basically on the iron lung as it is. You guys are getting out hustled, out managed, and you guys don't have any damn plan at all right now outside of hoping and praying that some marginal news outlets will treat you as a charity case. I'm damn concerned about Paramount getting hold of HBO Max and CNN. I am, and we all should be. Chicago, Seattle, talk to you tomorrow. Minneapolis, St. Paul, hour 2 up next with Bam. Are you planning a gathering for your family, friends, or work? Then reserve space at the Park Tavern. The Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces, and they can accommodate any size party, large or small. They have bowling, food, and beverage packages for any budget. And remember, there are no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. And for more information or to schedule an event, call 952-929-6810 or go to parktavern.net. Make your next get-together the best get-together with help from the Park Tavern.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming Indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, host of the Bradcast. You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Mike Hempton. After Robert Duvall has died at the age of 95.
I feel very comfortable in my existence between the words action and cut.
Duvall never had the classic leading man look, but made his mark as Marlon Brando's consigliere in The Godfather, and later in Apocalypse Now uttered one of film's more famous lines.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Duvall won the Best Actor Oscar for Tender Mercies, and on the small screen, a Golden Globe for a role he often cited as his favorite, the one that got him recognized on the street more than any other.
Rural America, but cities too, Lonesome Dove, big.
16 years ago, Duvall told the AP he would not want his funeral to be a depressing affair, but rather,
it would be an up thing, I think. Fun.
I'm Sagar Meghani.
Investigators working on the disappearance of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother are consulting with Walmart management to develop leads. A backpack the suspect was wearing is sold exclusively at Walmart stores. Nancy Guthrie was last seen at her Arizona home on January 31st and was reported missing the following day. Austrian prosecutors are charging a 21-year-old man who they say planned to attack Taylor Swift's Vienna concerts. Vienna prosecutors say he backed the Islamic State group online and shared its propaganda. Prosecutors say he studied bond-making instructions and made a small amount of an explosive used by IS. California is bracing for a powerful winter storm anticipated to bring thunderstorms, strong winds, and heavy mountain snow. National Weather Service meteorologist Jacob Spencer in Sacramento is urging people to take precautions. He says if they're traveling, they should pack winter safety kits. This is AP News.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Progressive knows life takes you in many directions.
Bear right at exit 32, then begin to wonder why you never bought a fish tank. In 1.3 miles, you'll realize you've been mispronouncing epitome your whole life. At the roundabout, you will remember you said something at dinner you wish you hadn't and will think about it for decades. You have arrived at your destination, but it turns out there really is no destination and life just keeps going.
Wherever life takes you, protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis, We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
What if I told you that toxic pesticides from crop seeds and lawns have spread all over Minnesota's lands and water, devastating wildlife and posing risks to our health? Well, it's true. But a coalition of Minnesota farmers, community members, anglers, and more are taking action to protect our state from neurotoxic pesticides. To learn more and get involved, visit cleanerseed.org. That's cleanerseed.org. And tune to Food Freedom Radio.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 50, then tonight, cloudy with a low of 35. There's something for everybody at Cafe Latte in St. Paul, from award-winning soup, salad, sandwiches, and desserts to treats from the bakery made fresh daily and a pizza and wine bar. Cafe Latte is located on the corner of Grand Avenue and Victoria Street. Check them out at cafelatte.com. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Monday on President's Day. Good to have you with us here on BAM, Blue Amp Media, blueamp.co on Substack, and of course AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Matt and Patrick here today, 952-946-6205. I did say it is President's Day. Patrick, this is amazing how many different celebrations we have over this 6-day stretch. We had Valentine's Day on Saturday. Today is President's Day. Who is your favorite president?
I'll get back to you on that.
All right. I'm pretty big on Barack Obama personally myself, but I'll let you take your time. We have Tuesday. We have 2 things. We got Mardi Gras on Tuesday. And then we have the Chinese Lunar New Year begins on Tuesday, February 17th. Doesn't happen too often, but it does occasionally happen. So you have both of those great celebrations. I got to imagine somewhere in New Orleans there's going to be a heck of a mashup going on. I wish I would have thought about that, because that would be worthwhile going down to. Mardi Gras and the Lunar New Year. Oh, I'm okay with that. Then on Tuesday evening and going into Wednesday, we have Wednesday is, of course, the day after Mardi Gras, Ash Wednesday, which is not so much, that's not so much a celebration, but it's people are going to, all of a sudden if you see people with ashes on their forehead on Wednesday, don't try to, hey, you got something up there. It's fine. It's fine. As well as also, it's more likely the beginning of Ramadan. I believe it begins on Tuesday night. So you have a lot of things going on all of a sudden right in a row, which is pretty amazing. You don't see it that often. You do know what this does mean, though, Patrick. You have worked with me long enough. We know that Ash Wednesday is coming up. You know what's coming up after that, right?
Damn right I do. It's fish fry.
That's right. For all you joining me on Blue Amp Media, I was, just a little background for you. I was a Catholic. I got kind of tired of them trying to tell me, you need to vote Republican. And that's not why I go to church. So I left. I've joined this lovely Lutheran church, Westwood. It's lovely, very peaceful, and, caring, compassion. Why not? I'm all over that action. Welcoming? What a concept. Anyway, so I go there. But one of the things I fell in love with when I was in the Catholic faith was Fish Fry Friday, which during Lent, of course, you're supposed to go meat free on Friday. Most Catholics fail spectacularly on that, but that's a different story. There are in your area, there should be almost every Friday running from Ash Wednesday up until Easter, up until Good Friday. Really, I don't think they do any on Good Friday. So you got like 5-6 weeks. Every Friday, you'll have a church probably in your area with elderly church ladies who know how to cook things. They could take a box of scalloped potatoes and make it the most delicious thing you've ever had in your life. And there are a ton of them. And the fish options left and right, and sandwiches. There's a place in my town in Hopkins, Minnesota, that does fish tacos. Mwah! Ugh. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, it's a good time, man. And I will, I mean, if you're in the Twin Cities metro area, heck, if you're nationwide, let me know. If you've got a good enough fish fry, Patrick and I are willing to do the road trip, right, Patrick?
Yeah, I was going to suggest we have options now to find out what's going on in Seattle, Chicago,
San
and
Francisco,
anywhere.
we go to Boston. Can you imagine? Oh, come on, man. New England. So if you've got a really good fish fry on a Friday, you can let us know. The email here, comment at am950radio.com, comment at am950radio.com. Send us the details on that.
Heck, if we bring New England to do it, I'm just curious about your chowder while we're at it.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with some good chowder, but don't get the Manhattan. Get a nice creamy base. Oh, it's better. I grew up in Rhode Island, so I love clams and I love mussels. God, I could eat that all day long, man. Yeah, Fish Fry Friday starting on up. I don't. If anyone wants to look at me and say he's a complex individual, no, I'm a very simplistic man. Fish Fry Fridays. Off I go. Yeah. All right. But we got to get through Mardi Gras first and the Lunar New Year, which are both good. There's got to be some place in town that's celebrating both of those. I got to see if I can find some place that I can go over there and get a little bit of both of that action, because that is spectacular that those two are together. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. All right, everybody got the happiness on? All right, we got all the happy, good enough stuff. All right. The FBI formally notified Minnesota officials on Friday that it would not grant them access to the evidence from the investigation into the killing of Alex Preddy by federal immigration agents in Minneapolis to the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. They made this comment today. The BCA has historically investigated shootings by law enforcement officials, but has been blocked from participating in this investigation of federal immigration agents killing 2 Americans and shooting a Venezuelan national in 3 separate incidents in Minneapolis in January during Operation Metro Surge. I got someone that's offered a theory on the prosecution of the 2 people that lied about the shooting. That was the one with the Venezuelan snow shovel attack force. Yeah, I'll get back to that. While this lack of cooperation, this is a quote from BCA Superintendent Drew Evans. While this lack of cooperation is concerning and unprecedented, the BCA is committed to a thorough, independent, and transparent investigation into these events, even if hampered by the lack of access to key information and evidence. When U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent Jonathan Ross shot and killed Renee Good in her car on January 7th, BCA agents were on the scene collecting evidence as part of the joint investigation with the FBI. Then the U.S. Attorney's Office reversed course and decided the investigation would be alleged solely by the FBI, Evans said at the time. That was because they were told by the Department of Justice to, no, we're not going to share information. A week later, ICE agents shot Julio Sosa Celis and a Venezuelan national in the leg after a car chase with a different individual whom agents had confused with someone else. The BCA were again on the scene then in North Minneapolis and collected evidence, but the FBI and BCA said it would not share. They told the BCA they were not sharing the results of its initial investigation. A little over a week after that, the Border Patrol agent and a Customs Border Protection officer shot and killed Alex Preddy as he was observing federal immigration agents in South Minneapolis. BCA agents responded to the request of the city of Minneapolis, but were blocked from accessing the scene by personnel within the Department of Homeland Security, despite having a judicial warrant. Because the courts don't matter to these people. In all 3 incidents, Department of Homeland Security officials made extraordinary statements about the victims. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem described Good and Preddy as domestic terrorists within hours of their killing. That skank basically lied. God, I want to say something a lot worse. Kristi Noem is a horrible human being. Just a horrible human being. Homeland Security, in an official release, initially said Sosa Celis and another man, Alfredo Aljarna, violently assaulted a leading officer, leading the agent to fire a defensive shot. The Department of Justice has since dropped felony assault charges against the 2 men and instead is investigating the 2 ICE officers for lying about the incident. Now, let me share. I have a friend whose theory on that is they're trying to give Minnesota that case. That, see, we're prosecuting these officers because they lied to avoid the officers getting prosecuted in the Renee Good and Alex Preddy cases. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad theory. I think that might be the case, saying, don't you dare say we were trying to run bias investigations. Didn't you see we investigated our own ICE agents? Now, once again, they're investigating the ICE agents. Whether or not they hold them accountable remains to be seen. But this whole thing with those two could just, well, first of all, let's just make sure we understand something. No, there was no Venezuelan snow shovel attack force or Quidditch match team. There was just not. We've already discussed that. That was a lie. And they shot him through a door, which kind of annihilates their entire story. And there's video evidence of what happened there, which contradict their story. So you have, would I be surprised to try to say, I don't know why the people of Minnesota are so upset. We basically investigated. We found them not to be guilty, but we investigated those two guys. Yet all they talk about are the two people we murdered in the street. Talk about an ungrateful state. Screw you. Exactly. So that's not a bad theory. They might be basically using those two agents as, and I don't even want to call them sacrificial lambs because they're held accountable for anything yet. They're just saying they're being investigated. But this might be the dog and pony show they're putting up to try to hide the lack of cooperation between Good and Preddy, or the investigations into the Good and Preddy murders. Public outrage over the Preddy killing appeared to pressure the Trump administration to consider allowing state officials to cooperate with the investigation. The Star Tribune reported that the BCA and the FBI were close to announcing a deal on a joint investigation. Then the Trump administration pulled back, apparently because of a leak about the deal, said Governor Walz on Thursday. Democratic leaders say the lack of local participation on independent investigations into the shooting compromises public trust. Damn right it does. I don't trust those lying bastards in the federal government. I don't. We already saw what they did. I want to remind you what happened after they murdered Alex Preddy in the street. Those Border Patrol agents cut off his clothes and counted the bullet holes to claim which one each one of them had shot. Then they, like it was a deer that they shot in the wild. It was a trophy for them. It was a trophy for this ICE insurgency. They then mocked and ridiculed the people who were observing, aghast by what they had done. Unbelievable. In the Preddy killing, Department of Homeland Security initially said it would take the lead on the investigation, essentially investigating itself before the FBI took over. The U.S. Department of Justice has opened a civil rights investigation into the killing. The lack of cooperation with the state also hinders local prosecutors in weighing whether criminal charges against the agents are warranted, leading Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison to begin collecting evidence themselves with the BCA. The Preddy shooting for sure. I think there's enough in the Good shooting, in the Preddy shooting. I think there's enough video evidence there that I think you can make well, let's put it this way. You do those cases here in Minnesota. Heck, you don't even have to do them in the Twin Cities. I bet you can go out into some of these Republican counties and you do these cases and you show them pulling the gun off of Preddy and gunning him down in the street. I think you have enough there in both of these cases to warrant charges and a case. Now, what would be interesting is if the federal government tried to help out the officers, because reminder, Trump can't pardon state charges. He cannot pardon state charges. So would the federal government then release some of the evidence to try to help the officers and try to paint them as innocent victims? The problem with that is I don't know a judge on the planet that would say, well, yeah, you guys can look at all that evidence, but the other side can't look at all the evidence. So, yeah, I frankly, if you look at these cases and you look at the video evidence we have of both Renee Good's murder and Alex Preddy's murder, I think you could actually get a guilty conviction on all of these agents. I honestly do. I think that they can. And if the federal government is going to fail us, then it's a responsibility of the state to offer us the justice that is deserved in this case. So now I would go with Keith Ellison. I mean, and I know Mary Moriarty. I know you want to bite at this case, but I would go with Keith Ellison. And his office has shown a lot of nuance and acumen in regards to prosecuting cases. And I would make these guys have to defend themselves in court. And what would be interesting is, would the federal government keep these guys from being arrested? Would if we had a warrant that said, an extradition warrant to, say, Texas, would Texas refuse to honor the extradition warrant? Because I can tell you right now, then, Texas, you're not going to get squat from us. I mean, until we get our people. And if all of a sudden that's the case, I mean, that's just the real deal. My guess is going to be because the Republicans are so insistent on trying to make the murders of Preddy and Good kills. I mean, they are celebrating. There are elected officials here in Minnesota that are giddy with joy over the death of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. They are so happy this happened, and they only wish more people would have been shot. And so they're desperate to try to turn this into a win somehow for them. I don't think we should be willing to oblige them. So, yeah, fine. If they don't want to let people come on in, well, have someone follow them the second they step into Arkansas or the second they step into New Mexico. Well, put the cuffs on them and bring them back to Minnesota. Wouldn't that be appropriate? I think it would be. I want to also make one other point. The BCA is not exactly the most liberal policing outfit you'll ever come across. Okay. These guys are conservative. And as a matter of fact, I have, been fairly critical of them over the years because they have routinely gone into cases saying, how do we get the officer off the hook? How is there any way at all possible that we can basically get the officer, just say, nope, no charges should be filed. And they do that fairly effectively. So this isn't a anti-police outfit. This is someone that is trying their hardest at times to make sure police officers are never charged with a crime. They have. That's just kind of what they do. The fact that the federal government doesn't want to have them working with them tells you everything, doesn't it? It does. It tells you everything. They already know there's enough evidence to convict these people of the murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And so they're now desperately trying to keep that evidence away from the state of Minnesota. Because even that BCA would say, yeah, they're guilty. We need to file charges against them. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break. Come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on the Monday.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts.
So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
Aho, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
Hearts and beliefs collide in the poignant comedy, The Cake, playing at Theater in the Round. Della is a talented Southern baker whose life changes when she's asked to create a wedding cake for her late best friend's daughter, who's marrying a woman. The production offers a tender and funny look at the complex intersection of faith and family. The Cake runs February 20th through March 15th at Theater in the Round. Tickets and more information at theaterintheround.org.
Hey, Chanhassen in Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal so your driveway and sidewalks stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing, because nobody likes shoveling snow.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Just like some of the news headlines. The Republicans can't field a candidate for the Senate seat in New Mexico. So the Democrat down there is going to run unopposed. Okay. Also, apparently Tom Cruise turned down an award from the Trump administration because it was clear that he would have to accept it in person from Trump, and he didn't want to do that. So the moral compass of Tom Cruise, folks. In an interview Sunday on CBS's News Face the Nation, White House border czar Tom Homan said more than 1,000 immigration agents have left Minnesota since he announced the end of Operation Metro Surge last week. Several hundred or more expected to leave in the coming days. Homan said there will still be a small force that remains for a short period of time, which will respond when our agents are out and getting surrounded by agitators and things get out of control. Well, don't break the freaking law, and maybe we don't have to correct you. How about I say it like that? And once again, get a warrant. If you've got you see, the problem is you don't want to actually go through the legal processes you need to be a legitimate policing force, which are, and by the way, are not exactly the highest freaking standards in the first place. They're not. But you guys are lazy, and you expect the rest of us to pick up the slack for you. And then when all of a sudden you realize, hey, you're abusing people, you're attacking us. Screw you. I'm tired of these guys. He said agents investigating last month's protest at the St. Paul City Church will also remain, but he didn't provide any concrete numbers. Okay, once again, so some protesters went into the church, disrupted the church service for about 5 minutes or so. Church was still able to pass around the collection plate, and everybody left. And you need a what? So I'm guessing anyone that was there, they are scouring. This is just all it is they're trying everything in their power to find anything they can character assassinate them with. And when they can't, they go out there and make AI generated photos of Nikemi Levy Armstrong. So yeah. Holman said that while he doesn't like that federal agents wear masks, he believes they need to do so to protect themselves against threats and violence. Okay, if you're doing things where you have to protect your identity because you're so far down on the moral compass, that's on you guys. That's not on us. Because threats against ICE officers were up over 15,000. Actually, assaults and threats are over 8,000, a.k.a. stats pulled out of our caboose. I'm not saying, hey, there have been some cases where these, I don't know, are they counting all the times we threw a sex toy at one of their ICE vehicles? Okay, wait a minute. Guilty as charged. I mean, How far away from the Whipple building did they get before they finally had to pull over and pull the sex toy off the car? Good times, people. Good times. White House said that the operation, which began December 1st, has led to the arrest of 4,000 criminal illegal aliens. 14 of those arrested had homicide convictions, 139 had assault convictions, 87 had committed sex offenses, 28 were gang members. Here's what we can say is we know all those because they got warrants for those people because they were sitting in a prison cell. And those were a piece of cake. The other people they've arrested, which, by the way, they've arrested and released, so the idea they're criminal illegal aliens is just garbage because tons of these people have been released. We're trying to cook your food, wash your kids, mow your lawn, roof your house. Journalist Don Lemon, activist, lawyer Nikemi and Libby Armstrong, and others appeared in federal court Friday in St. Paul, where they all pled not guilty in connection to the protest at the city's church. Once again, with a pastor who's an ICE agent. All right. Outside of the fact I can't stand peanut butter and chocolate, I love Reese's peanut butter cups. Okay, well, all right, sure, all right. It's a little bit of a contradiction. I'm just saying. It's not, maybe someday you'll have to explain that to me. City leaders in Minneapolis say federal immigration enforcement operations cost local businesses and restaurants $81 million in January. $81 million. Hennepin County Sheriff has said her department has not entered in any new agreements with the federal government regarding immigration enforcement in jails. Federal judge has ordered the Department of Homeland Security to give immigrants detained in Minnesota access to attorneys. Once again, they say they got this new deal. Basically, what they agreed to is following the laws as they're written. Once again, I want to talk more about the impact. There was actually a decent story today from the Star Trib about the impacts of this to rural America. And when I posted this, I then got a message from somebody with a stunning story about what is going on construction sites. I'll get to that. That's coming up as well. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Broadcasting on BAM and, of course, on AM 950. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
At Schroman Law, we provide more than just legal documents. We walk alongside our clients to ensure their wishes and legacies are being honored with every choice. And we do this while recognizing that this process can be emotional and weighty. Our team includes attorneys, as well as a grief coach and a published writer ready to assist with legacy letters and extra wishes to go alongside your healthcare directive. Contact us today to learn more at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. And you're just in time for Zero Res's post-Valentine's Day flash sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a 4th room free. But you have to book by February 20th. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Inver Hills Community College, Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I love you. You're perfect now. Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 35, then Tuesday, a chance of rain with a high of 50. Step into Forts at Children's Theater Company. It's a fort-building wonderland where theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towering towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for shared creative play. Forts, now through April 5th at Children's Theater Company. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
It is the Matt McNeil Show on BAM, the Blue Ant Media Network, as well as also on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. Thanks for being here today. 952-946-6205. So I've heard multiple variations of this story. I don't think it's coming from the same place. From Democrats who are out in rural parts of Minnesota, where when ICE agents started coming into the state because the Republican Party brought them here, obviously a lot of the farmers were like, wait a second here, are you guys just going to focus on Minneapolis, St. Paul, or is this going to be statewide? And it's interesting because they'd have some of these community meetings and some of the ag people will get together, because obviously the big dirty secret of American agriculture is that we need undocumented workers to get our product to market. We do. You can't possibly operate this system without undocumented workers, and they're willing to come here and do it. And you guys didn't vote for any kind of, you guys that voted for Trump, you didn't vote for any nuanced, immigration policy. You voted to grab them all and throw them out. But you guys, for some reason, thought that your operations were not going to be rated or anything. And so there was apparently when you had this happen, I mean, there was obviously some promises in these rural counties of, they're only going to stay to the cities. Don't have to worry about them there, which once again, you don't understand the Trump administration when they realize the narrative of, overrun with gangs. Well, it's not. Well, where are a lot of the minority people? Out on the farms? Okay, go get them. And they did. That was going to affect you. But as well, this delusion that they say, because multiple people have shared that, farmers would get up and just kind of to try to, poo-poo the negative talk about ICE in these rural communities. They would say, well, in my operation, all my people are legal. So all you guys, if you got undocumented workers, that's not on me. I'm doing fine, and would kind of leave the meeting. And at least in 2 cases, that guy's farm got raided, and half their people were undocumented workers. And I asked one guy, I said, was he really serious? Was he just, did he really think that he didn't have them and just was God? He goes, I don't know. It didn't seem like it was that difficult to find out who these people were. So he must have known they were undocumented. It just, he didn't think that it was going to come to him. He thought the undocumented workers that work for me, well, they'll be fine. And he had no idea. They had no idea. The impacts, I've talked about this, where you can have a raid in Minneapolis, St. Paul, at a business, at a restaurant, at something that has nothing to do with the ag sector. And it's, even up to 200, 300 miles away from Minneapolis, there's going to be a hesitancy, a reluctance for the undocumented workers to go to work. And so we've already had major problems with staffing. And by the way, I should make sure to mention, ICE agents don't really care if people have paperwork or they're documented or undocumented. They're just looking for minorities. And they have grabbed numerous minorities and just taken them off the street and shipped them off to Texas, even though they've got proper paperwork. So, this whole idea of, well, they're not going to come get my undocumented workers. They're not going to affect my business. Well, even if you have people who are legal here, they're racists, and you voted for them, and you voted for their racist policies. So Minnesota farmers are worried they won't have enough hands to tend livestock managed crops this year, consequences of the ongoing federal immigration enforcement in the state targeting undocumented workers from Latin America who keep U.S. agriculture churning. It's funny now, all of a sudden, hey, by the way, does anyone else notice that, wow, undocumented workers, we need them. Yeah, exactly. While the thousands of immigration and customs enforcement agents who have descended on Minnesota have focused on the Twin Cities, rural communities are feeling their presence too. ICE recently raided dairy farms, according to farmers and industry leaders, and crop growers were worried they don't have enough temporary visa holders to work the fields come spring. The immigration enforcement has created a climate of fear among both undocumented and documented workers and made farmers unsure if they'll survive the ongoing season. Even before the Operation Metro Surge began in December, ag leaders like Land O'Lakes CEO Beth Ford warned that Trump's hard stances on immigration could stoke farm labor crisis. Workers are already in short supply, and the industry is grappling with the fallout from federal trade and agricultural policies that have reduced incomes and raised costs. Once again, I want to make sure I point out there's a lot of agribusinesses who are all Trump, who now all of a sudden have got Trump and realized, well, wait a second here. This isn't good. I mean, this is almost an admission from these large corporate ag producers that give tons of money to Republicans that this is going to hurt them badly. And so, yeah. It's difficult to exactly track how many foreign-born workers work on Minnesota's farm each year, particularly those who are undocumented. Nationally, the majority of total, about 1 million hired farm workers are non-citizen immigrants, according to KFF analysis. Foreign-born, I guess that's the Kaiser Family Foundation. Foreign-born workers make up about 10% of Minnesota's total employment in the U.S. Census category. That includes agriculture, although that only counts year-round employees. Federal data on seasonal H-2A visa holders shows more than 4,000 people traveled to Minnesota to work temporary agriculture, a number that has dropped since Trump took office. And once again, that doesn't count undocumented workers because that's a lot of them. If people employed on farms are afraid to come to work, or if ICE were to detain and deport any of them, it would spell catastrophe for Minnesota farms across the global food supply chain. A group of 27 retired ag and government officials recently wrote a letter to members of Congress warning of widespread collapse of the agricultural industry. It's nice to see the bravery of retirement. You guys that are still working, not a lot of spine there. I'll give Beth over at Land O'Lakes some credit, but not a lot of spine in a lot of the rest of you guys. Mass deportations, removal of protected status, and failure to reform the H-2A visa program are wreaking havoc with dairy, fruit, and produce and meat processing, a bipartisan group wrote. Those disruptions are causing food to go to waste and driving up food costs for consumers. Farmers are used to weathering unexpected challenges, said Josh Brycerson, a Wisconsin farmer and director of grower support at Good Acre, a Falcon Heights-based nonprofit. But in this one, he said, could be insurmountable. You may have seventh-generation farmers just having no other choice but just to sell off the farm, said Bryson, because there's just no one there to work it. This next year is going to cripple American agriculture. And once again, I remember that story I mentioned in the first hour about them working around us now. How long until Brazil and Argentina and Australia get into all these countries and say, you don't need their soybeans, you don't need their wheat. You don't need their corn. We're producing enough of that stuff our own. Yeah. If we can't fulfill it, you can get the scraps from the United States, but the rest of it can come from us. Why pay higher prices for their product when you can get dirt cheap prices with us? There's that. There's the regular economy collapsing. There is the fact your soybean markets are gone, and now you have no workers in the field. If only a fairly attractive radio show host a year and a half ago was screaming, oh my God, you farmers don't want to do this. It's almost like if that was to happen, you would have been a warning sign. Instead, you sat there and go, he's all so upset. Isn't it great? Bye, Grandpa's farm. Great Grandpa's farm. This is a tragedy. This is a freaking tragedy. tragedy. John Rosenau, who owns a 700 cow dairy in about 100 miles southeast of the Twin Cities in Wisconsin, he said 13 of his 18 employees are Mexican green card holders. He said, I showed up once on his farm a decade ago searching for an employee's son. But unlike now, Rosenau said the agents didn't wear face mat coverings back then. There hasn't been much ICE activity in Wisconsin recently, he said, but if federal agents were to detain his employees, he would immediately have to reach for the cattle buyer's phone number he keeps in a drawer. We would have to get out of here within a day, Rosenau said, because we would not be able to keep up with the work. So basically what he's saying is, as a dairy farm, which, side note, you don't want dead cows on a dairy farm. You want alive cows. He says if they raid his farm, and once again, there's nothing saying that he wouldn't round up how many does he have? 13 of his 18 employees are green card holders. ICE has notoriously rounded up people that have green cards because it's not about whether they're legally here. It's about the color of their skin, because they're all a bunch of freaking racists. That's why. So if that does happen and he lost his employees, guess what's happening? He's calling the livestock guy to sell his cows to him so that they could be put down and sold into, meat, ground beef, whatever, because he doesn't have any other options on the table. That's how thin the margin is. I want you to explain. I guess one of the questions you could ask is, how many people, if all of a sudden they did start raiding in Wisconsin, could he lose to his operation before he starts having to call for Bessie to get hauled off to the meat processing plant? Ugh, saying it like that is kind of cold-hearted, isn't it? Yeah. Seriously, though. This guy, and by the way, if you are one of these people who's, you don't like how animals are treated, and I think there's a very legitimate argument that we treat the animals in this country horrifically. That being said, this guy wants his animals at least alive because he's a dairy farmer. Doesn't do much good for dairy if you don't have alive cows. How many employees does he have to lose for all of a sudden they have to start making the decision on how many of his cows does he have to sell? Because if he's down to 5 employees, I guarantee you that's going to be a good chunk of them. This is the same story you are hearing at every farm in rural America, pretty much. They don't have people to work these farms. They don't have people to work the dairies or the meat processing plants. And they can't get product to market. You guys did this to yourself. Once again, you thought you voted for a racist who was going to put in a racist policy towards immigration, even though your industry is dependent on having undocumented workers here. The target of the racists, you need the target of the racists to work for you. And instead, you basically went along with this. And like I said, can I just tell every Republican, shut up with this whole revisionist, I always just wanted a nuanced immigration policy. No, you didn't. If you wanted a nuanced immigration policy, you voted for Kamala Harris because she had one. Donald Trump was, we're going to go get the black and brown people and throw them out of the country. And you went, yay, even though you employ black and brown people to keep your business open. One side note about that story. Funny, even though that's an area of the state that's predominantly, represented by Republicans, not a single Republican contributed to that story. Not a single Republican wanted to go on the record because it is such a double-edged sword for them. They need the donations and the farming sector to be successful. So, yeah, they should be against ICE rounding up people. But they also have the racists, and they also have the far-right psychopaths that basically control their primary. So they're so desperate to not say, gee willikers, guys, ICE, hey, I expect what you're doing, but can you do it in another county over, maybe, huh? Come on, please. You go to South Dakota. Yeah, not a single Republican quoted in that, even though that's Republican territory. Here's the story. So I posted this story this morning. on social media, and I got this note. So this obviously we've talked, not only is the ag sector being crippled, but the construction sector as well is being crippled. And we're not getting the full story. From the people I know who are contractors, they can't get anything done right now. I mean, we talked, I had a story, was it 2 weeks ago, that they're saying that the estimates, they were about 2 weeks behind on getting stuff done. They're about 2 weeks behind, or 2 months, up to 2 months behind. That's nothing. They're saying now that projects that they would probably be slotting right now for June and July, they're slotting for August and September. So that it is, and they're hoping they'll be able to get to them before snow flies this year, because they don't have the workers. And it doesn't, and of course, whose projects are going to get done? The high-end contractors who are building the multi-million-dollar mansions out on the big lakes and stuff like that. They're getting workers because I don't know if they've got deals with the ICE agents or the law enforcement or stuff, or with the Republican Party, but they're able to get them, and they're paying more. The rest of the industry has kind of come to a standstill. This guy talks about, he deals with the mixing trucks, the cement trucks. And there have been at least 3 times that this guy put forward, 3 times where, so imagine you're a contractor, you're going to be doing this. Oh, I need a bunch of concrete to build a foundation or to drive in pillars or whatever the case may be. You make that order, right? So they make the order, cement truck fills up with cement, heads over, spins, heads on over to the construction site. There have been 3 times where they've shown up at a construction site and there's no one there. There is not a single, this is not like, door-to-door concrete sales. These are supposedly orders that are in the books, and they're getting out to these sites to deliver the concrete that's supposed to be there, and there's not a soul on the construction site. By the time this is all over, the Republican Party of Minnesota is going to dramatically crippled the industry of Minnesota. They have just the ag sector, the construction sector, the business sector of the Twin Cities. The Republican Party of Minnesota did this, and it is going to be a freaking nightmare getting back from this. There are already Republicans that are saying, we need money out in the ag areas to come for the problem with the ag sectors, but we don't want to give any money to the Twin Cities Metro. Well, good luck with that, because the Twin Cities Metro, politicians aren't going to go along with that one at all. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break, come on back. One bit of sad news, but I can kind of understand why this guy did this when we come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, our job is to help you find a place for fire. Our displays include over 180 models in diverse styles, and we have over 35 burning displays. Come and experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Some say there are only 2 seasons in Minnesota: road construction and winter. Hi, this is Laura, and I agree there are 2 seasons in Minnesota: summer and fireplace season. I bought my wood stove for Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces in 2005, and every season after summer comes the time when we fire up the wood stove, get out our favorite music, and discover the warmth of fire. Our dog Pumpkin remembers the fire too. He stations himself right there, legs up in the air, just enjoying the warmth of the fire. With the wood stove, we are able to keep the main area of the house toasty warm, while the thermostat is set at an energy-efficient 64 degrees. Discover your fireplace season. Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Hey, Chanhassen and Eden Prairie, it's Alex with Buzz Cut Mowing. Why wake up early, freeze, and shovel snow when I can handle it for you? I provide fast, reliable snow removal, so your driveway and sidewalks stay clear, safe, and stress-free all winter long. Relax, enjoy your morning coffee, and let me do the heavy lifting. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today and make this winter easier, warmer, and worry-free with Buzz Cut Mowing, because nobody likes shoveling snow.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been telling you about my friends at Snap Construction, who are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior construction company in the metro. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at all their reviews online. Winter is the most cost-effective time of the year to complete your construction project. A majority of Minnesotans choose to have their work completed on their home in the summer when they should be enjoying the weather. As a result, the demand for labor in the summer is much higher. The most cost-effective way to improve or restore your home is in the winter due to the lower demand. Right now, Snap Construction is offering an additional 30% off of labor to the AM 950 listeners on your next construction project between now and the end of February. Call 612-333-SNAP and mention AM 950 for an additional 30% off. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
It is the Matt McNeil Show here on the Monday. President's Day. If you are off tonight, enjoy your Chester A. Arthur pinata. All right. Spice drops. No. Yikes. 952-946-6205. So for the people on BAM, Blue Ant Media, there's a guy here named John O'Sullivan who did a social media page called Minnesota's 1 Minute Tour Guy. Very good, very entertaining. He did this, and then he expanded and got into a larger format and was doing more social media stuff, and he was kind of well liked in the state. And if you didn't see it, his takedown of Liz Collins, oh God, that was pretty funny. That's pretty funny. And for all those that don't know, Liz Collins is this right-wing reporter in town. He actually kind of made her look incredibly foolish, which was kind of fun. He charmed the state with his lightning tours on social media, posted a new video late Sunday night on a large sheet of cardboard. He hand-painted an announcement, time to leave Minnesota, ? It really wasn't a question. By the time the fans had seen the video, O'Sullivan was long gone. A month earlier, he had packed up his home and his family has moved to Australia with his Australian wife and their 2 small children. It was just a few days after an ICE agent had shot Renee Good on a Minneapolis street. 2 weeks later, federal agents shot and killed Alex Preddy in a different Minneapolis street. It would be impossible to put into words the level of guilt I feel being here at this time with my friends and family. We are fighting what is right back here in Minneapolis, he said in the 12-minute video posted to Instagram in his new Hidden Middle YouTube channel. But at what point are we irresponsible parents when we have the wherewithal to not be in this situation and we're choosing to live here anyway? Mankato raised O'Sullivan had lived in Australia for years and has dual citizenship. His concerns about staying in the United States, he said in the video, started last year after 2 harrowing episodes of gun violence. The summer of 2025 began with the political assassination of the former Minnesota House Speaker, Melissa Hortman, and her husband, Mark, and the attempted killing of a state senator and his wife. It ended with a mass shooting at a children's mass at church during the first week of classes at Annunciation School in Minneapolis in his neighborhood. I don't feel that Minnesota is a safe place for my children right now, said O'Sullivan, whose children are 2 and 4. Once again and again, he had asked a guest on his podcast about gun violence. I also don't think that there is a bright future when it comes to our political violence. O'Sullivan and his family had a chance and they left. He told his viewer they took it. It betrays a lot of values that I hold dear about democracy and standing up for what is right, he said, but those values fall below the values that keep my family safe. Should be noted that I can understand why he did this. I mean, it's been a tough year in Minnesota. You had a far-right extremist dressed as a police officer gun down the Democratic Speaker of the Minnesota House and her husband, try to kill a Minnesota senator and his wife. You had the mass shooting in Annunciation. You had ICE agents welcomed in by the Minnesota Republican Party to crack skulls and beat people in the street and shoot people And they did. And he's left. And I know some people might want to get mad, but I, as a father myself, now my kids are all older, but 2 and 4, I understand why he did it. And the question I have for many people is, if you had that same opportunity, you had a dual citizenship, you could go to a different country, a Canada or an Australia or an England or an Ireland, and go there and you were familiar with the country and you didn't have the insanity of gun violence or fascist-like federal government policing agents who are looking to gun people down the streets, would you go? I think a lot of people would. I don't get mad at this guy. I to a point, I will miss him. I thought he was really good. I was kind of hoping someday I'd actually get on that podcast. But all my best down under, and maybe we need to look more in the mirror about what is going on here in this country. Native Roots Radio is up next. Have a good one. We're back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.
Crooners is a classic supper club